Okay, in this video, I'm going to talk about a man named Tyler. He's, I think around 32 in the beginning of 2020. Well, Tyler, when he attended university, he had moved to switch to a university in what they call the big city, and it's about 2 hours away from the county he grew up in, which the closest part, which is called Victorson County, and he attended university there, and he had just broken up with his they ended their engagement between he and Cammie, and it was a bad one. So he kept himself really busy at the university, and he took more classes than he needed to. He was going to eventually he wanted to become a surgeon, but first he figured he'd be an assistant. But while he was there, he took a lot of different classes that he, had just, like I said, to keep himself busy. And some of those were psychology classes, and he realized how much he really liked it, those classes. Well, anyway, it also, he took a class, and they were talking a lot about personality disorders. And it started to explain a bit of why his engagement was broken, and how rough it was on him, and all the little bits around it. So what had happened originally was that while he was attending university in Victorson County, they only have one university, and that he started when he was young. He graduated when he was 17, then he was 18, right before his first semester at university. And while he was there, he within the county, he met Cammie, and they started dating pretty right away, and got really close very fast, and they dated for about a year, and that's when Cammie proposed to him. Okay, and later on, when he started thinking about it, it would seem so like it was in a suggestive, sneaky way. Not in, wasn't him proposing to her, which is traditional, but yeah, he, something just didn't sound right. Well, he was, he met her mother too. Her mother's name is Sandy, and who disturbed him because of her controlling ways, and plus, she was just kind of bizarre. But anyway, he had met her quite before that, and before Cammie proposed to him. And when she did, he had already told her what his plans were, as far as becoming a surgeon one day, and that he would not be, he wasn't, he was too young to even think about marriage. Although a lot of people in the county, they do marry young. It's a very wealthy county, and some of them, they go directly, attend university, and get married while at university, and many of them do. Anyway, but like I was talking about, he eventually met her mother. After he told her, that he wasn't going to, get married young. He was going to become a surgeon, assistant first, and then work to become a surgeon. And so he'd already told her that. Well, then he had already kind of met her mother, but then when they really met, really sat down and talked, he saw her as quite bizarre. Now, her mother at that point was in her, she's still in her 50s, and Sandy. Anyway, one of the things that she said was, she told him, that he asked about her husband, or he already knew, but something came up, and she had told her daughter, Cammie, okay, my goodness, wake up here, that Cammie had warned him. She's kind of, funny when she answers it. and basically, or talks about it, she basically just will say that her husband was abducted by UFO, and he never returned. Okay, and she won't say anything else. She will never tell the truth of what happened. And she would say, "Oh, I saw the lights, and then next thing I know, he was gone," and and she never reported him missing because she's just waiting for him to come back. And Cammie had just laughed it off. And said, "Oh, she just says weird stuff like that to people." But Cammie doesn't know either what happened to her dad. So she's just quite a bit bizarre. It's Cammie's mother. So time went on, and Sandy, she started getting very pushy about them getting married. She wanted them to set a date, and so she could get all the plans together and all this. And Tyler was getting very confused because he had already told Cammie, that we're not going to get married until, he becomes a surgeon. And I mean, he says he has these aspirations, and who knows what could happen between now and then, then and then, I guess you'd say. Anyway, Sandy became pushy about it. Sandy, the mother, or Cammie's mother, for them to get married, and eventually it just led to them breaking up. Okay, Cammie, she cried. When she told him, she just cried and told him that she can't marry him, and he's getting very confused because he's already told her that they were not going to get married, until all that time later. And she cried and everything, and said, that she was really upset, and he felt something just was really off with the whole thing. And so Cammie is a really nice, sweet young woman, and it just didn't make much sense all around. And so he got her. She kept crying, but all the while she was crying, she started talking, and she said that it was her mother who put her up to, trying to rush into getting married to him, and now she wasn't going to meet her mother's expectations of her. Okay, and Amy, even though she's then an adult, she still minds her mother because she told him that her mother told her that if she didn't get married to someone who was more wealthy than then that she was not going to get her inheritance. Okay, now Tyler and his family, his parents and all, they're very wealthy, and Cammie's and her mother Sandy, they're not poor, but they're not really middle class, but they're just not wealthy like many of the people in the county. And it's a very wealthy county, like I said. And so basically her mother was pushing for this, and Cammie wasn't ready either. She had thought she had goals, but she still would mind her mother no matter what. And some would say, would think, gold diggers or what is the situation? Okay, so like I said, he was young. They were both young, and Tyler was quite confused by all of it, and the breakup was really tough on him, and he was, he decided that he was going to move to the big city and, finish up his degrees and such while there. And so like I said, he went there and he became very busy, keeping himself busy. But while he was taking those classes and learn, all these classes, he got interested in wanting to learn more about the personality disorders, like narcissistic personality disorder, histrionic personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, and antisocial personality disorder. So he really did as much studying as he could on those, and took a class that talked about these and other disorders. But and all of it started to make sense to him. What had been going on, and it wasn't Cammie. He realized that it was her mother. It started making more and more sense to him. He was still young, and he was getting down that, how bad all the symptoms that his mother had, that her mother had, Sandy had, and he could see that she just, she was very exploitative, like a narcissistic person, and very controlling and domineering, and then her whole rest of her behavior seemed quite histrionic all around. Now, he didn't quite understand what was going on with Cammie, that she minded her mother, and even though her mother pushed her to do stuff, her mother was very controlling. So he was hoping to learn more. So he would take more and more classes to do so, to learn. And okay, this is just a brief one. But eventually he finished his degree. What he needed to become a surgeon's assistant, and had also taken graduate courses, and he just took graduate courses to learn more about what people do, things like counseling and such. And but he didn't finish, earning a degree. He just took classes because he was very interested, and he had the money, like I said, very wealthy family. So then he went back to the county, and he started working as as an assistant to a surgeon, which is where he met a woman named Meg, who he met her there. She was a co-worker. And then he met Zephyr, who eventually they started dating. Well, they started dating one another. That was Meg's daughter. Okay. So, and then there's so much more to it, but really, what do you think would happen? Now, he started taking those classes, but there's so much more to what happened after that, and I'll get to that in another video. I should just wrap this one up as it is. It was a lot of information. Anyway, but read the disclaimers in the description box below this video on YouTube. I'm wrapping it. I'll talk to you later.